Welcome back to this day. Joining me now is Dr. Justin Yannick and also Dr. Tanya Dahl with Renew Ketamine Infusion. Welcome. So nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
I understand you were here about 2 months ago with Michael.
Yeah.
So I'm my first time getting to meet you. And,
nice to meet you.
So
thanks for having us.
basically, tell me a little bit about yourselves and your background.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Dahl. I am born, raised in Arizona, but kind of a SoCal transplant. I had always wanted to do medicine ever since I was in 5th grade. I was so fascinated by the human body and how it all worked together. So I went to the University of Arizona, got my undergraduate degree. I trained in medicine at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and then I did my residency training here in SoCal at UC Irvine. And so right now I'm a board-certified emergency medicine physician who also took on a passion project working with ketamine, helping to treat patients that have conditions such as chronic pain and chronic mood disorders.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And Justin, what about you?
Yeah, so we met in residency. So we're both, board certified ER doctors.
Okay.
I also did a pain medicine fellowship as well. And yeah, we kind of met in the middle at a time a couple years ago where, we just saw this pretty significant subset of patients that wasn't getting relief with more of your traditional medicines, talk therapy, antidepressants, pain medicines. And wanted to create a space that can utilize the evidence-based medicine that is ketamine and deliver it in a safe, controlled way to help these patients. And so we've been doing it for a couple of years now, and yeah, it's extremely satisfying and rewarding seeing the results that we get with these patients.
When did you first hear about ketamine or first start, seeing the benefits of it?
Well, so in the emergency department, we use ketamine every single day. So It's widely used and well studied to be very safe. At higher doses as more of a sedative type of medication. So we've been using it in the emergency department for 7-8 years now, kind of through our entire careers. And just recently, over the past 10 or so years, there's been a lot of research that has shown that when you use ketamine at low doses, it's very safe and effective at helping to treat pain and mood conditions. And so we kind of stumbled upon a couple other physicians who were starting to use this modality to treat these patients that were really not responding to other treatments, or maybe just didn't like the side effects of some of the other treatments that they were on. And so we started to learn about the world of ketamine and its uses, and we just decided to jump in and see what we could do to help people.
So how did you then come to, we want to create our own practice and to do this? How'd that come about?
So I had been working in a pain practice for a while, and again, there was these subset of patients that just weren't getting relief with interventional techniques, epidural, spinal cord stimulators, and other pain medicines. And I knew that ketamine could be effective for these patients, but I felt like the setting was really important. So rather than giving it like in a sterile medical office with fluorescent lights and patients going in and out, we wanted to create a space where it was just one patient, a spa-like environment to optimize the setting and kind of take the playbook from other traditional psychedelic medicines and really create a therapeutic environment so that they can get the most from the medicine itself. And so when they come into our clinic, it's just a medical provider, a nurse, and them, and they have the time they need to kind of heal through the medicine.
I like that, the healing through the medicine. I like that. So recently, it was released that the actor Matthew Perry died from ketamine, and so technically he drowned, but they're saying he had ketamine in his system. So what can you say, further regarding the case and the safety about ketamine? And
yeah, so ketamine, like I said, has been well studied and researched to be very, very safe. But like I also mentioned, it's all about the dose and also the setting that you're using it in. So at a high dose, you can get sedative effects, and it's been reported that the amount of ketamine in a system was over 18 times what is the safe amount to use.
All right.
And so we're using a very, very low dose in our clinic as an IV infusion, so it's infused very slowly. And so that is safe, and that's not causing the sedative effects that unfortunately I think he experienced. Also very safe to remember, you want to use it in a controlled setting. So when you come into our clinic, it's a provider, it's a registered nurse, and it's the patient, and we have eyes on that patient at all times. We're watching their breathing. We're watching our continuous pulse oximeter, which tracks their oxygen levels, their pulse. We're making sure that they're having a really good experience and not having any sort of dangerous effects. So always using it in a controlled setting, using it at a place like our clinic, which is very safe, but never using it in, especially when you're swimming or you're by yourself. Those are when you start to get into more riskier situations.
Okay, and so is it something like I take an Advil and it lasts for 8 hours? So how does the pain management work with the ketamine?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's actually a really interesting question. So the ketamine in your system will maybe be measurable for 4 to 6 hours after the infusion is done. So the ketamine leaves your system, but the chain events that happen from the ketamine can last days, weeks, months, and even a lifetime, really. And so what happens is it leads to something called neuroplasticity. It acts on receptors in your brain that lead to new nerve cells growing, increased efficiency of neural connections. And so when it comes to things like chronic pain, it basically allows your brain and your spinal cord to process pain signals in a different way. Oftentimes patients with chronic pain, decades of chronic pain, they're hyper aware of their pain source. If you've got chronic low back pain, consciously, hours of the day, all you're thinking about is your low back pain. And what the ketamine allows your brain to do, and also your conscious mind to do, is to reprocess those signals in a different way. And whether the ketamine's in your system or not, it just takes that initial trigger combined with therapy, psychotherapy, physical therapy, things like that, to kind of reprogram the brain to not care so much about the signals in the low back, in the knee, things like that.
Interesting, very interesting. Are there any other side effects or dangers of using it for a long time?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll take that. So we don't typically use it for a long time.
Okay.
That's the beauty of ketamine, is that this is not meant to be a medicine that you are using for years. It is very much meant to be a very fixed period of time where we do 6 infusions over a 2 to 3 week period, and then occasionally we'll taper off where we'll do maybe monthly, every 2 months, but that's not the common technique. It's usually the 6 infusions, and then you're done. And that's really the idea, and that's where all the peer-reviewed evidence has kind of shown the real power of ketamine is rather than being a constant medicine that you have to take that either doesn't work but also reminds you that you're broken, this medicine really gives your body the power to heal internally and then be done.
So are we thinking, in Matthew Perry's case, are we thinking he was doing it himself, self-medicating, like maybe not under a doctor's care?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to speculate, of course, but I think that that's probably the case because well-trained providers and physicians such as us would not administer ketamine in that sort of a dose to somebody because we're obviously well aware of the sedative effects. Also important to mention that you don't want to mix ketamine necessarily with other medications. So buprenorphine is a very strong opiate medication, and so that can cause sedation. High-dose ketamine can cause sedation, and that's just kind of the perfect recipe for disaster.
Wow. Oh, such a shame. Who would you recommend ketamine for, and who shouldn't get it?
Yeah, so I mean, patients that would be candidates are people that have either tried and failed other medicines where like they're not working from mood disorders or chronic pain disorders, or are currently getting some therapeutic benefit, but they're having side effects from their medicines, whether that's weight gain, changes in sexual libido, cognition, brain fog, that type of thing. Those are the patients that will typically come to us to try a different way to see if they can either get off their medicines or get control of their symptoms. There's some absolute contraindications to ketamine use. That's if you have seizure disorder. So if you've had seizures in the past, because it can lower your seizure threshold, absolutely no to ketamine. If you have a history of schizophrenia or psychosis, absolutely no to ketamine. And then certain cardiac arrhythmias like AFib, A-flutter, if they're not controlled, then those would be kind of relative contraindications. But other than that, everything really is up to the discretion of the patient, us, and then other patients' medical providers to determine if this would be safe for you. But the beauty of ketamine is its safety. It was developed to be used in a setting where you really didn't have to measure their respiratory drive and their cardiovascular output. We still do that to be safe, but that's kind of what's so nice about it, is how safe it is.
What else would you say is like the best benefit of using it that has come out of discovering this?
The best benefit, I mean, there's a lot of benefits. Obviously, it works really, really well. So we're treating patients that maybe have tried 5, 6, 7 antidepressants in the past with no relief, and up to 80% of those people are now finding relief. So that's a huge, huge kind of weight that can be lifted off of people. And so it has that benefit. Another very interesting benefit is sometimes when you're getting your ketamine infusion, you can almost feel like you're in kind of a lucid dream. And so what can happen is you can actually find inspiration in things that you haven't really thought of before. So we have a lot of patients that we treat that are actually very creative type of people, musicians, authors, and they come out and it's just like this light bulb goes off and they have all these great ideas and they're writing new music. And so it has so many great benefits.
I think
What
one
an
thing to
amazing
add
side
to
effect.
yeah, one thing to add to that too is the speed with which it works. A lot of traditional antidepressants or other medicines like that, they say 6 to 8 weeks before we can assess if this is working, and then they dose up. Ketamine, truly within minutes you can start to feel the effects, and within hours you kind of have a sense, is this working for me or not?
Wow.
So it's not something that you have to wait months for, and so especially for people that are really suffering, it's something that can provide them with relief immediately.
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here
Yeah,
today.
thank you for having us.
Yeah,
We
thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having
about
us.
this. If you would like to schedule a free consultation with Renew Ketamine Infusion, contact them through their website at renewketamineinfusion.com or call them at 949-503-1414. Stay with us. We'll have more of this day right after this.